Tonight, more proofs of Q as the Armenian Prime Minister resigns suddenly. Also, we're going to cover how the deep state globalists extort money from charities for human trafficking globally. Hi, I'm Craig, and welcome to Just Informed Talk. For those of you who don't know, I start off each one of these episodes by saying thank you to each and every one of my subscribers. Without you guys, this channel would not be possible, so thank you so much. If you have not hit the subscribe button, please come here to this landing page. Click the big red subscribe button. Make sure you hit the bell for notifications. That way you'll be notified as soon as these videos get posted, because as soon as information is made available to me, I make it available to you. Now, we're going to jump right into the Q posts here. We have a lot to cover. First post, Q speaking here. Reminder, Iran is next. Marker, classified Section 11A P 2.2. Installments, 250 billion, January 1st, June 1st. No inspection at ground zero non-radioactive sites. No missile tech prevention. Load carrying, ICBM, think North Korea. Who controls the money? Who really controls the money? Why does the EU have a vested interest in this deal? Who receives the money? When the U.S. sends billions in aid and/or climate and/or etc., who or what entity audits tracks to confirm intended recipients? Recording. None. How does George Soros fund worldwide counter events? Who funds worldwide leftist events? American taxpayers subsidize? Define nuclear standoff. Who benefits? How do you squeeze funds out of the U.S.? Threat to humanity? Environment push? Think Paris Accord. Who audits, tracks the funneled money? Define kickbacks. Define slush fund. EPA, no oversight Hussein. Why? How does the CIA clowns fund non-sanctioned operations off the books? Reread past drops will become relevant. Welcome, Mr. President. The U.S. will not agree to continue the Iran deal as it currently stands. Q. Wow. That is an incredible statement. For you guys who don't know, this is where we left off in the last video. If you want to go catch up on the latest Q post, come here to this page and you can watch this video and it'll fill you in. You can even watch a few back if you want to get caught up, but most people usually are. This is incredible, what we're covering here. So first, Q's reminding us that Iran's next, obviously. And it's giving a marker to this classified section of a document, I believe. My thought off the bat, I haven't been able to independently verify yet, but that it's a section or clause out of the Iran deal, which would be the joint comprehensive plan of action put together a while ago by the Obama administration, where they agreed to pay Iran these installment payments of $250 billion, obviously on January 1st, and again, I guess scheduled for June 1st. Now, what my thought is when it says no inspection, this, my interpretation is ground zero non-radioactive sites. Or it could mean ground zero nuclear reactor sites. It could mean either or, but let's hypothetically say it's ground zero nuclear reactor sites, and it's referring back to the Iran deal for now. So let's say they're referring to exactly what was not inspected, how this deal set up for Iran, them to have these reactors that are not going to be inspected, where they could be manufacturing any type of nuclear fissile material for making bombs or weapons of mass destruction. So obviously, and the deal didn't call for any missile tech prevention. It didn't cut the ability to have a load carrying ICBM. They're thinking about North Korea. How did they get this funding and money that was funneled, I think, through the Iran deal to these foreign actors to make a threat, to manufacture a threat? Because when you have a threat, then you can have a force to respond to that threat, and that force has to get funding, and then that funding has to come from us, and we the taxpayers end up paying for it. Saying here, who controls the money? Who really controls the money? Why does the EU have a vested interest in this deal? Well, obviously, they're completely intrinsically involved in continuing this manufactured threat, because they're trying to build the EU into a big country with an army that can control the other countries and have a non-elected dictatorial autocracy of secret government appointees who basically make rulings without any democratic oversight. And that's what they want. That's what they're trying to build. Now it's saying who receives the money? Well, the NGOs, the companies associated, the governmental agencies that work near it, like apparently the Red Cross allegedly, or the non-governmental organizations. So it says when the U.S. sends billions in aid and or climate and or etc., who or what entity audits, tracks to confirm intended receipts recorded? None, apparently. According to Q, we really don't have a very strong system for recording what the U.S. sends in billions in aid and otherwise to outside disaster areas, disaster zones, world economic relief areas, those type. Now, how does George Soros fund the worldwide counter events? Who funds worldwide leftist events? The American taxpayer. Apparently, we're subsidizing this, but that would only make sense because these people have bought every avenue inside government with lobbying and the rest, where they have these organizations that are continually funded, these leftist organizations that are funded to protest Constitution and American rights and American sovereignty. So that just baffles anyone's mind, I think. But it says define nuclear standoff. Who benefits? How do you squeeze funds out of the U.S.? Threat to humanity, environmental push, thinks Paris Accord. Who audits, tracks the fundal money? Define kickback, define slush fund, EPA, no oversight regarding Hussein. Why? So this is what Q's putting together here very clearly and plainly, saying, look, it's all right here. Who benefits from a nuclear standoff? Why did allegedly Obama, through this Iran deal, give the ability for Iran to continue to make the bomb, to make the nuclear material in order to make a bomb, and also then subsequently looking forward in what happened in North Korea and how they got to the stage at which they were? How did all that happen? Well, all that happened in a coordinated effort to create an existential threat to the United States, which would be kind of as a threat to generate a necessity for us to be globally engaged in different military operations that would A, give us an excuse for imperial expansion, but B, give us an excuse for limitless funding. And that limitless funding goes from the government, our coffers, our taxpayer dollars and cents that get wrapped up into what you would see, which Q's talking about here, is how does the clowns in action fund non-sanctioned operations? Okay? They don't need to get a sanctioning from the government. They don't need to have anyone sign off because they can raise and generate funds outside of the government by doing illegal actions. And it's all off the books. And it goes on. It says, reread the past drops. It will become relevant. Now, this is very interesting, saying, welcome, Mr. President. The U.S. will not agree to continue the Iran deal as it currently stands. Q. So what I'm reading this as is Q welcomed the president to speak, and this is his statement. He's saying directly, the U.S. will not agree to continue the Iran deal as it currently stands. Q. Is that a direct quote from the president? Is that what we can expect to see as part of the negotiation in Iran? I would hope so, given that everything Q has laid out here, that these become the slush funds and they become the kickback. The people who get the kickbacks are the ones running the Paris Accord. The Democrats, they're the unelected officials who make up the EU in their internal structure, who end up deciding on behalf of countries for people that never even had a chance to elect or duly appoint them, besides being appointed by others who may or may not be elected, but there you go. You guys let me know what you think about that in the comments. That's kind of my take on it. Now, the next one. This is what we're talking about proving another proof of Q. Do you believe? Q is saying, the world is awakening. And it gives this article. It says, coincidence Q. Now, what's this article? Oh, well, here you go. The Armenian opposition leader demanded a snap election today after the prime minister suddenly resigns. This was not expected. The prime minister of the opposition party to Nicole Pashinyan, who was in power as the prime minister, decided to resign suddenly amid many accusations of corruption and other things where they apparently post-election had committed some pretty apparent crimes allegedly to the protesters who were protesting his nomination or his election to being prime minister. Now, this guy was done, but this is what Q posts. I mean, this is April 15th. So this happened about 10 days ago. Q posts 4 clown UIDs here. Armenia. Google QAnon search stats by country. Armenia #1, Q. I think Q's saying, look, the clowns don't have any power anymore to go and manipulate governments and to create, color revolutions and different things across the globe, that now it's being put back into the rightful place against the globalists, I should say, where you're letting these actual revolutions take place, like in Armenia, where it looks like the prime minister who stepped down was a globalist, and that the faction who may be coming in to replace him may be more sovereign-minded, maybe more nationalistic, maybe more against the global agenda, the globalist agenda, the pedophilia, Luciferian agenda, that kind of thing that we obviously are fighting on a daily basis here together. But is it a coincidence? Well, I'll let you be the judge of that. Let me know in the comments what you think. Now, the next one is Q responding to his own post here, saying, why was Armenia mentioned recently? Clowns losing control, Q. And that's just pointing to what I was just talking about, how the clowns have obviously lost control of their ability to control world events, it would appear. But that is merely what we're learning here from Q now as we go. Now, this is an AN0N posting this image right here, saying thousands of people on the streets cheering, hugging each other, jumping up and down and honking their horns. Things happen so quickly. I don't think the crowd was expecting this, but it is exactly what they wanted. We saw soldiers take to the streets. We saw priests, children, and their parents, young and old, coming out to show Armenia was really united in wanting these changes. This is an indication of how much people in Armenia have realized that they have had the power to affect change in a system that was widely regarded as corrupt. Well, yeah, I mean, that's in the AN0N posts here talking. He quotes the article here and puts links, and he says, amazing, Q. And Q responds, think North Korea. They have been freed. Assets on the ground, Q. So the same principle of what's going down in North Korea, an oppressed people who are being controlled by a globalist agenda and a Luciferian agenda of complete and utter suppression of freedom, has been overthrown quickly by Q. And this is going to be a global awakening, as Q likes to point out very often now. Here's where Q is responding to this. He's responding here to his last post right here about like North Korea, they have been freed, assets on the ground. He's saying, Q goes on, think Saudi Arabia. Order is important. Saudi Arabia, then North Korea, then Armenia, then Iran, then any other rogue nuclear states. Define hostage, define protection. Who is protected by rogue nuclear states? Trust the plan. The world is connected. Why are border states like Arizona, California important? Why is Mexico vocal against POTUS? Those who are the loudest. Where we go one, we go all. The Great Awakening, Iron Eagle, Q. Perfectly laid out there exactly what the plan is and how we're going from one to the other. We're diffusing these global tensions, spots of tension, where they've trying to manufacture these global existential threats to our security in order to basically extort money out of our government. Talking about Saudi Arabia, talking about North Korea, talking about Armenia, talking about Iran, and other rogue nuclear states that will be coming up, I'm sure, in the future. We talked about Pakistan earlier. And we will talk about Pakistan going further into this. This is what's happening. The world's connected. These are the problems that we face. And I think one of the things that we have to understand is that I think there's a big push to keep the Mexican border open in the United States, because it is how, and I've said this before, it's not just about the stuff that can come over the border, which is the big threat. You know, something like a bomb coming over, or something like terrorists coming over. That would be a big threat that we want to be definitely able to stop from coming over. But what if there are just things that can't be passed digitally, like information and Bitcoin, digital currencies, that could be used to pay off officials, that could be used to funnel money, to participate in human trafficking rings, to do these sick things that the Luciferian global pedophiles end up doing, and their globalism, their religion that they have to follow, where they need to do all this stuff. So that's one of the big pushes and reasons, I think, why that we're so focused on the border. We're so focused on closing the border, and there's a lot going on down there. I heard a story today that there's allegedly connection between maybe the Mexican president and Allison Mack from the show Smallville, who has been indicted by the federal authorities for her connection to a sex cult that's connected to Marina Abramovich, that's connected to spirit cooking, that's connected to global Hollywood elite, who are being implicated as being, involved in sex slavery cults that most likely worship Satan. So that I'm not exaggerating when I'm bringing you this news. This is what we are being brought as we go through this information. But you guys know, where we go one, we go all. And this is the Great Awakening. And you have to do your part to red pill everyone you know and get this information out there and understand that this is the plan. And we have to trust the plan. So you guys, let me know what you think in the comments below. And I will be glad to read through those. Now, next one. AN0N posts here, just don't forget the Americans, boss, MAGA. And Q responds, happening now. So the next post, happy hunting, Q. And it gives this link to the UN Board of Auditors at the United Nations. Interesting, he would put us to an FAQ page, frequently asked question page. But the first question I had, obviously, was who is on the panel? And when you click this, you see it's basically a who's who of every single organization that is connected to the UN in some form or fashion for the aid relief, empowerment of women, refugees, relief aid agencies. You have companies that are involved in the auditing, would be the Children's Fund and different UN organizations you'd expect to be connected in some, you're not really sure. The World Health Organization is a part of the chairman in the Philippines. They have offices in Switzerland, being managed by Universal Postal Union. But what is he basically pointing out here, I think, is what we're going to get into the next few posts, talking about how the money is sent out to these aid organizations, and where does that money go, and how is it tracked, how is it audited, this list, if you look at it, of organizations that would benefit from aid being distributed, who would be in charge of distributing that aid, then are they the ones creating the slush funds and basically siphoning out the money and deceiving the American people, the American taxpayer who subsidizes a lot of these organizations in the first place? Are they in charge of their own oversight? They're the board of auditors who are in charge of auditing themselves when they themselves are the ones who are benefiting from the distribution of funds. Maybe Q's just pointing us to say we need a little more oversight here. That's happy hunting. And then Q responds to his own post here saying, wake up, learn, question, fight. And he gives this article to an NPR article talking about how the Red Cross spent 25% of the Haiti donations on internal expenses. Now that's in and of itself awful, that they would take that high a percentage and put it on internal expenses, but they have to pay themselves. So I'm not going to get into this nitpicking of it. But some things that have been alleged are very interesting if you think about what's going on here. Now, what are they talking about here? Well, let's get into what Q says. The next post, Q says, Red Cross Iran, Red Cross Pakistan, Red Cross North Korea, Red Cross dots. Define smuggle. What is smuggled? What funds are used to pay for the goods? These people are sick. Relevant to event about to unfold. Follow the executive orders. Q. Well, this is very fascinating. Um, when they talk about define what and smuggle, this is what a good thing an AN0N posted here that I pulled off one of the boards. Define smuggle: to transport legally defined prohibited goods across jurisdictions under cover of legitimate business or organizational activity. What is smuggled? Cash, children, drugs, oil, nuclear materials. What funds are used to pay for the goods? United Nations funds, donations at the Red Cross, et al., U.S. taxpayer money, etc. Executive order falling neatly into place. So the executive orders are actually meant to stop that when they talk about taking money away from human trafficking and defunding things that obviously should have been common sense to be defunded in the first place. But that's what's being explained here, I think. It's talking about how this is how they get money into these countries in order to smuggle things out that they need or want or are part of the global cabal looking for. Illegal black market materials, smuggling children, smuggling oil illegally, if that's the case, in order to skirt sanctions. Whatever it may be, they use the guise of the Red Cross as a what would appear allegedly to be some kind of money laundering organization, though there's not necessarily enough evidence to make that definitive statement as of now. Now, this is very interesting. He's saying there's relevant to events that are about to unfold. So is there going to be some more exposing of the corruption at the Red Cross, and do we have that to look forward to? And is it going to be in relation to some of the maybe human trafficking executive orders that Trump has signed dealing with the just rampant abuse of humans and being trafficked for sexual and slave enslavement purposes? So we'll have to wait and see what unfolds there. I will definitely keep you guys tuned in and posted on what I find. But going into this next one, Q is responding to his own post, right? Now, this one's going to be very interesting. It says, when was Osama bin Laden killed in Pakistan? May 2nd, 2011. Where was Osama bin Laden located? Close proximity to? Think logically. When did AN0N's mission Operation Go Green? 2004? Follow the timeline. What happened during the time with Valerie Jarrett, AN0N +3? Gives a link to an article. Follow the timeline. Congress gives another article. Secretary of State, another article. Who is protected, another article. And then it says 8 cut off in 2010. Coincidence? What happened in 2011? Define exchange. Sick yet Q. And we're going to go through all of this. First, you guys know Osama bin Laden was killed in Pakistan, according to the U.S. government, in 2011 on May 2nd. Now it says, where was he located? Well, he was in a central region, I think, of Pakistan that was in a very close proximity to Pakistan's equivalent to West Point. For those of you who don't know what West Point is, that's one of the top military academies in the United States. And this was the Pakistani version of West Point that Osama bin Laden was living approximately a few miles from, if I'm not incorrect. So, saying think logically, the AN0N brothers, the Imran AN0N and their operation to come in and take over the Democratic National Convention servers, use that information to blackmail people. They were allowed in allegedly by inside operatives like Abedin, who were already working there, who brought them in to do it. Was this a long operation that's been ongoing for quite some time? Were they trying to clean and cover their tracks by getting rid of Osama bin Laden in 2011? Were they finally realizing that it was all going to come out and be exposed that and Valerie Jarrett and Imran AN0N and others were involved in a very large conspiracy to infiltrate the U.S. government at the highest levels on behalf of the Muslim Brotherhood? This is all alleged, but this is what's being laid out in front of us. Now, we're going to jump to the first article here. It says, what happened during this time with Valerie Jarrett, AN0N, and 3 others? And it goes to this article, or this bill. And it says, HR 5734, which was to provide compensation for the deadly acts by elements of the Pakistani military and intelligence services against the United States citizens. And this is a bill that's talking about providing compensation to the American people for what the Pakistani intelligence failed to do in their organizational abilities, and that they were a core sponsor of the Haqqani network in the 1980s and so on. It's kind of laying out what that was or is in relation to their government. Now, what's being outlined here, though, is that obviously Pakistan is a bad actor working against us. They are not on our side, and they are backing enemies of the state here in America. Now, the next thing Q goes to, he says, follow the timeline. And it gives this article here, and this is another link to a bill talking about HR 1699 from 2011-2012, which was talking about Pakistan foreign aid accountability. And it actually goes on to state Pakistan Foreign Aid Accountability Act prohibits assistance from being provided to Pakistan unless the Secretary of State certifies to Congress that the government of Pakistan did not have any information regarding Osama bin Laden's possible whereabouts on or after September 11th, or if the government of Pakistan did have information regarding Osama bin Laden's whereabouts on or after September 11th, it expeditiously communicated such information to the U.S. government. Well, obviously they didn't. Obviously, this is a reason to hold them accountable for the foreign aid that they accept, but Q gets into that too. Going on, Secretary of State here. This is this Gov track talking about how Al Green was a sponsor of this bill introduced in 2011 to designate Pakistan under Section 244 of the Immigration and Nationality Act to permit nationals of Pakistan to be eligible for temporary protected status under this section. And you can go on to read the bill. It basically just goes into designating temporary protected status for Pakistan. Now, Al Green is obviously a person who I've looked at in the past as being quite irrational actor who doesn't present any logical arguments for his side of the debate. That's where I'll leave it with him. But talking about how they want to turn this all over to giving them protected status. I mean, obviously, after all the stuff that we get into with them, this is going to be very interesting to see where this ends up landing as we go forward. You guys, if you guys have any insights in this Pakistani stuff, please let me know in the comments what you think. I'd love a further in-depth talk and investigation of it, but for the purposes of time, we're just going to keep going through this video. Next one, it says, who is protected? Okay, well, who is protected? And this is talking about the 60 years of U.S. aid to Pakistan. And this is a breakdown of the data of how much money has been contributed in economic assistance. And you can see starting in the 1940s, it wasn't that much. You had the military assistance, though, go exponentially through the roof over the past several decades, ending here in 2010, where we're contributing $2.5 billion in defense aid, military assistance to this country, who obviously is working against our best interests, hiding criminals like Osama bin Laden and facilitating criminal terrorist networks, allegedly, according to what we're being presented here. So Pakistan is definitely next on the table. And it says aid cut off in 2010. Was it a coincidence? What happened in 2011? Define exchange, sick yet Q. This was the exchange. They were like, oh, you can't, we're going to come in now and kill Osama bin Laden. And you guys aren't a viable existential threat anymore. You don't provide the push that we need. We're going to go with another sect of radical jihadists to scare people in ISIS. And Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi with John McCain and others setting up that deal, allegedly. So that's what it was. They cut him off and they said, we don't need you anymore, because our little puppet boy, allegedly, who was not really a puppet, I should say, but obviously Osama bin Laden had his connections with the CIA well before September 11th, and he wasn't just somebody who popped up on the radar randomly. He's connected to Saudi billionaires for oil, his family is, and princes, I believe. So, guys, trust me when I say this. There was an exchange. It was a very quick and quiet one where they decided that, hey, we don't need to give you $2.5 billion a year anymore to hide Osama bin Laden because we don't need him. We'll manufacture another threat for a lot cheaper over in Syria, and that's what that is. Now, you guys, if you guys have any other thoughts, let me know what you think in the comments. I'd love to hear it. This is the last one. It says, listen carefully, trust the plan. And it gives you a link to this video. We've all probably seen it by now where it says, this video will get Donald Trump elected. I'm not going to play it because it has copyrighted music in it. If you guys want to watch it, I'll leave a link down in the description so you guys can go check that out if you're interested. Certainly, that would be cool. Now, that's going to basically do it for this video. I want to thank each and every one of you for watching. If you're looking for a way to support the channel, the easiest way to support it is to come here and if you have not hit the subscribe button yet, please come hit the subscribe button. Make sure you hit the bell for notifications. That way you'll be notified when these videos get posted. Also, if you're looking for another way to contribute, please leave your comments. Like I say every time, we have our own QAnon research board at the end of each one of these videos. So just scroll on down, leave your comment, thought, insight, theory, whatever it is, an explanation, something I missed, something that you want to cover more deeply. Please go down there, and there's just thousands of people who get together down there and make great content, great thoughts, and you guys can definitely go join that. And even if you can't comment, scroll down and read through the comments. I guarantee you're going to learn something you didn't know previously. Try to interact with everyone, though, if you can, and keep this dialogue going, as I will be going through the comments and checking them myself later on tonight. Now, thank you so much for watching. Another way you can contribute is to come on over here to my Patreon account. That's patreon.com. And you just come here to this landing page and you can search Just Informed Talk. You'll come here to this page. Click this button here to become a patron. Please come check out my rewards and my goal. Some cool stuff you can get into. As of right now, there's going to be some updated rewards and goals coming up, so you guys look forward to checking that out. We're about to hit my second goal here, which is great. We're only one patron away, so will you be the 250th patron to come here and contribute and keep this channel alive? It's only through your help and your support that I'm able to do this every single day and bring you this information on a constant basis. So thank you so much to everybody who believes in this channel and has contributed to keep it going. And I thank you in advance for coming here and checking this out and becoming a patron of the show Just Informed Talk. Now, that being said, we're going to take 1 minute here to talk about something that's incredibly important. The mystery of time according to God. Why is the mystery of time important? Well, because as we go through these different events, it seems like time can almost just become a hindrance because everybody gets so impatient for the future to come and for the resolution to happen. Well, there's only so much that can be solved in a day, and even the Lord didn't create the world in one day. So we have to give time to God's will in order to let His will be done. And we have to embrace that every single day. When we get up in the morning, we can't be frustrated that things aren't going our way. We can't be frustrated that, everything's not falling into the place the way it should for you. Because that's when God needs us and depends on us to look into ourselves and to see how we can draw on His love and His guidance and His wisdom in order to become stronger. Now, the mystery of time is pretty simple. It's Ecclesiastes chapter 3 and verse 1. We'll read forward from there. But this is God defining what the mystery of time is all about. There is an occasion for everything, and a time for every activity under heaven, a time to give birth and a time to die, a time to plant and a time to uproot, a time to kill and a time to heal, a time to tear down and a time to build, a time to weep and a time to laugh, a time to mourn and a time to dance, a time to throw stones and a time to gather stones, a time to embrace and a time to avoid embracing, a time to search and a time to count as lost, a time to keep and a time to throw away, a time to tear and a time to sow, a time to be silent and a time to speak, a time to love and a time to hate, a time for war and a time for peace. And that is the truest of words. There is a time for everything, and those times will come and they will go. And as time comes and passes, it is continuously going to be a mystery. And the only way we have a chance at solving this mystery is to understand that things will come and things will go. Things will come to pass that have not yet, and things will replay themselves that have in the past. But the one constant is unwavering, steadfast devotion in the Lord will grant you the wisdom to know that time is but a number, and that the real importance is finding the ability to take pleasure in the grace of God every single day and know that you are a son or a daughter of the Lord, and that Jesus died on the cross for your sins, and that your soul is eternally saved as long as you open your heart to the Lord every single day and say that prayer and bring Jesus closer to your heart so that you may walk closer to the Lord and become a light for the world, the light to shine onto the world, into others' hearts, and to bring blessings into your house and your family, but then also into others, because that's our duty. So if you don't take anything else away from this episode, remember that God loves you and that you are totally on the right track. All you have to do is keep praying, keep your mind open. And I want to thank each and every one of you for joining me here. Again, if you have not hit the subscribe button, please come here and click the big red subscribe button. It really helps me out big time. Make sure you hit the bell for notifications if you want to be notified when these videos get posted. But that's going to be it for me. I want to say thank you all very much for watching. This has been Just Informed Talk. My name is Craig. Godspeed, and God bless each and every one of you, Patriots.